Welcome back to EUL. We are lining up our final game of the night here on Playday 4, and we've got G2 versus Na'Vi. Plenty of stories between these two. We've got players going up against their old outfits. We've got everything going on. Kick us off with G2. Hap.
The new super team, air quotations, the super team are currently being at the bottom of the table, unfortunately.
That's
the only thing.
Second bottom.
Yeah, second bottom.
Come on, Hap. Don't sell them short.
Okay, at the start of the day, it was one round of difference between the two. That could still change. Who knows? But the thing is, if you look at G2 and you look at these names, they're all star players into their own aspect, and they shouldn't be with 0 points on the scoreboard. And what's going wrong is called fundamentals. We've been saying it many times before today and throughout the rest of the EUL broadcasts. So I'm hoping that even though they had a very short time to prepare for this matchup since the last play day, that they have been watching some of your know-how Siege, because the drones are very useful. Please use them well.
My entire prep for G2 is just kick W. That's all I've written in my notes. Let's move on to Na'Vi, shall we?
Let's move on to Na'Vi. We'll give G2 a little break from Fabian's frustration.
I've just had enough of them. I can't be bothered talking about them anymore. However, Na'Vi is a more
Tell me about Na'Vi.
And Na'Vi is actually a more enjoyable team to watch because they don't do as many mistakes as they used to, and they for sure don't make as many mistakes as G2. Na'Vi, with their new lineup, picking up Skiddy in the fragging role, have made the entire team way more comfortable. And as soon as we're done with this team stat sheet, I would like us to put up our, versus sheet, which is the next picture we're going to get up. And it's not really a G2 player versus Na'Vi player, it's a Na'Vi player versus another Na'Vi player. And why do I put these guys in a player highlight? And it's simply just put on the comfortability of how this roster have started to play when these two players, Blur has been here forever, but when Skiddy have come into the team and Blur have been able to take a step back in the amount of aggression he needs to kind of make happen from nothingness. Blur is more of a little bit more relaxed player and a little bit more held back, and now that they have Skiddy who's playing their main entry, we have a player that can push forward and then just let Blur do the job that he does best, which is a little bit more slower, a little bit more, I wouldn't say lurky role, because that's not perfectly, he's somewhere in between a lurker and the second entry, and he's doing a much better job playing that role than he is playing main entry. And it's just a much more complete roster with Skiddy in the team than Secretly right now.
I think the way that I've seen Blur for a long time is you want him alive in the final minute. And I think, you know, that's where he has his really big moments, and he'll come in with those impact kills, 2K, 3K, clutches. You know, that's when you want him alive. And like you say, if he's playing on the entry, maybe he's not getting that opportunity.
I think we can all go by, and if we think back through the ages of EUL, Na'Vi struggling, they were about to lose another game. Suddenly Blur steps up. Suddenly Blur clutches around. He clutches another round back to back, and Na'Vi come back alive. That is the effect Blur has had onto this lineup in EUL alone. And ever since Na'Vi started to grow, of course, a bit of a blow when Doki left the lineup to get his saves. A bit of the stability that they had built up was gone, but Blur is still one of those consistent factors.
Certainly is. Let's have a look then at where these two are going to be going for our final matchup of the night. The map will be Clubhouse once again. We're going to go there. Fabian, how are you feeling about this?
It's so hard to say because I feel this way. G2 has to win at some point. They just have two good individual players to not win.
That's been my theory. I've predicted G2 to win.
I haven't, because simply put, my heart have gone with G2 for too long, and it's time to separate my heart from...
You've lost trust.
From my true love. Yeah, the trust has been broken. I don't know what they can do to get me back on that one. There's not much they can do. I think that every map leans into Na'Vi because G2 doesn't know how to play Rainbow Six Siege.
It is about basics. Again,
yep.
G2 needs to get these basics under control, and if there's one map where they can do it, it is a Clubhouse that they do very much love, especially to play against BDS. Doesn't always go too well for them, but who knows, this might be the turning point.
I mean, we've got to remember it's Navi's pick as well, so they're obviously seeing something in Clubhouse that they're happy with themselves.
Yeah, Na'Vi haven't played poor Clubhouses lately. I actually have it in my notes. I can't remember when. They didn't they just beat Outsiders on it 7-1? They did, I'm pretty sure. So they had quite a solid performance last time. It could be that G2 thinks that, oh yeah, now we can counter them, but since they don't know how to attack, I don't think it matters.
Well, I think we're in for an entertaining game, and there's only one way to find out just how entertaining it will be. That's to go and watch it. And we've got all the players in the lobby ready to go. We've got X, we've got Demo. Everything is primed and ready. So sit back and enjoy our final game of the night. It's G2 versus Na'Vi.
Thank you very much indeed, Ace. We are going to be getting our heads around this one, Demo. We do get a little bit of G2 Na'Vi action to round out this Playday number 4.
Yeah, this is a difficult one for me, personally, because I've been a long-time favourites of both of these sides for quite some time.
You have?
I'm not going to hide UK bias. Never have. Always going to be there. I hope Na'Vi don't hate me, but I would like to see G2 win over Na'Vi today, just because I think G2 needs something. I really do. Obviously, G2's been the talk of the town. Fabian hasn't been the greatest supporter, and I think that's infected some people. There is still time for G2 to turn this season around. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to look at. Yes, it's been 0-3, but I almost feel like since their first loss in week 1, everyone was on them straight away. Am I wrong in saying that? Everyone just went on them
for sure.
from the get-go. And it's just weird how. We have seen teams have slow starts. You look at M&M during last split. They start off really bad. They start off with an 0-3, and they were in 2 points, wasn't it, from getting to top 4? Who's to say G2 can't turn things around?
There is plenty of time left inside of this stage for G2 to make a little bit of a run. The social vote certainly was in their favour, around 60% to around 40% for Na'Vi. The players nice and active in the all chat as well. Good little bit of banter over the bans and what they are
stuff like
expecting. There is so much ex-teammate rivalry, ex-roster and org rivalry, and it's not necessarily bad rivalry. No. I think it's all good, light-hearted fun and just a bit of friendly ribbing.
Obviously, the most recent one was we had that trade deal. Doki went to G2, Kayak went to Na'Vi.
Yep. It's going to be great to see how it all plays out in the server. A lot of knowledge on one another as well, and a lot of knowledge of how sort of teams work fundamentally. Obviously, things change when new players come into a roster, but there are some things that always do remain and stick around. G2 tonight going to be starting off on the defense, taking us downstairs into Church and Arsenal.
So, obviously, we're going Clubhouse. This is the easiest map. By far. In Siege, this is the easiest map to play. Everyone and their grandmother can play this. And I just look at Clubhouse and I think if G2 really need a win, this is going to be the best chance they have because it's not too complicated. There is a step-by-step process in terms of how you play this map. You just hope that G2 can do that. They do get the defense first off, so Na'Vi, they're the ones who have to go on the attacking prowess. And again, similar for Na'Vi, this should be another easy map for them that they could play. You know, we've seen them do really well against Outsiders in their last Playday. You know, 7-1, they just stomped through it. Obviously, Fabian mentioned about Skitty. You know, he's fit it in this team so good. You know, it's exactly what Na'Vi were missing from the first stage, was someone who would just go in there, have absolutely no fear, and just play that solid entry role.
It's almost a coin flip as to which Na'Vi you're going to get as well, because we've seen them have performances at both ends of that spectrum. So it will be nice to see how they kick things off here tonight. Quite an extension here from G2. Blur's already got himself into logistics there. Great little C4. It's going to pick Doki up a freebie. He's got his in-ears ramped up to 11 to hear that one.
Just indecisive there from Blur. If he had bucked that wall open very easily, could have gotten the kill onto Doki. Remember, C8 versus the MPX is not a great matchup. Nath, though, will slip in and will catch Doki, so it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but realistically, if you're G2, you're happy with that kill. You've eliminated Buck. That's the player who wants to try and get inside a kitchen and start ripping up that floor. Now you're really limited to, what, breaching charges from Nath?
And Doki's gone and he's used his C4 to get the kill as well, so now he can just sit there and cycle those
and they're still droning
cameras.
as well upstairs. Look,
there's still a worry that there's somebody up here. Na'Vi haven't been quick enough in that due diligence. They've not been able to firmly assess whether everything is clear or not yet. Somebody just rotated up. Well, they don't really know at the moment. It is a bit of a fact-finding mission. Nath can start getting to work here inside of Bar. He's going to blow open the corridor that looks down into Long. Skitty keeping his eye on that flank. I imagine that the majority of any Valkyrie cameras that have been placed outside of basement will have already been dealt with. So we can see that there's Gone 6 is going out as well now in an attempt to try and deal with those Legion goo mines, Demo.
So Kayak will move in, open up that hatch. No impact tricks as of yet. Well, there we go. Citizen does fire one out. Has that caught the X-Kairos? Yes, it has. But then, of course, another two will go down. Does he get these two? Yes, he does. But as we know, you're just going to run out of impacts unless Virtue now has to take over the mantle and will get another set. But Kayak has more than enough. Ollie just to keep splurging them out. And those impact grenades, well, they eventually will run out. And now we're seeing Kayak can easily go in and get the rest of it. Still has, actually maybe not, only has two left, Ollie. What's he done there that he's misplaced them?
He's either misplaced one. Well, he must have misplaced one.
Thunder could go get it, no? Surely. Oh, Thunder's out as well. What's happened? What have we missed?
A little bit of a disaster. I know the stock hatch at least got open. Alamar's in a great spot here to find himself one. Draws for the shotgun in case there is a second on its way. Virtue, he's going to shut down Skiddy. Kayak battling from these main stairs. Going to pop a flash and see if he can catch Alamar off guard here. He's going to have to move quickly though, but he's not quick enough. The shotgun at close range is devastating. Full white flash or not. You can see Alamar there just coming out of those stun effects in time to pick up that last kill.
Big blunder from Navi. Lack of hard breach even though they had to. So I'm pretty sure Fermite used one on the CC wall and then I'm guessing the other one on the stock hatch.
Yeah.
But then the Habana pellets, how has he used all of them? There's only 4 impacts, right? So that's 8 Kairoses that you can
Be
burn
careful
through.
here, you're going to start doing maths.
It is 8. That still leaves
I agree.
more than 4 left. So I know there's at least 4. There's at least 4. If you do the numbers, there's at least 4. So I don't know what he's done with. Did he use the rest of them on dirt? And I don't know.
Jim Wall could have been a candidate.
Perhaps.
May have accidentally placed 2 sets onto the hatch
Why
at
are you
some time.
using so much hard breach for an upstairs clear whenever there was only 1 player?
Certainly questions to be asked and a VOD to go back and look over. For the meantime, they need to keep their focus on the game at hand, and that is now going to be played out inside a master bedroom and gym. CCTV has kind of fallen out of favour as a second choice
It's not a good bomb site. It's so open.
Yeah.
It's probably the best way to put it. There is nowhere that is safe that you can sit. Whereas gym and bedroom, you can stretch your legs a bit more. I think you have these safety positions. I think bathroom's obviously going to be one. Even inside logistics is going to be another safe place. And Alamau will find an early kill onto Blur, and that's the nuke gone. I mean, Blur being neutralized, we know he's kind of the MVP of this Navi lineup. He has been for quite some time, Ollie, and not a good start for him, 0-2.
No, especially on the Nook as well. You would expect him to be making some sort of crouch play somewhere, getting the nades in, out there. Of course, going to be taken out of action pretty early on here.
You have to also look at the bans from G2, a sledge ban. That's a bit of a signature as well that Blur can play. It's one that we know that he is comfortable on, and if you actually look at Clubhouse as a whole, we do usually see quite a big usage of sledge just everywhere. It's good for hatches, obviously for the basement, it's good to open up kitchen. It's just a nice operator to have that just does these little side pieces. So maybe taking that away, it does ruin, I would say, the flow that Navi want to try and achieve.
Virtue just going to use that pocket reinforcement on bathroom after the wall has been opened. Nades from below, though, needs to be fairly careful. His mute jammer has remained. There is a strip of flooring inside of the bathroom which is impenetrable, so you can't really do all too much about it unless you, of course, throw a nade up through and get the timing just so. Now he's going to continue his soft breach endeavors. He's already opened up that CCTV wall. He's now going to turn his attention toward logistics hatch. Doki, Alamau, both prowling on this ground floor. Nath just coming out of kitchen now. He's got a yellow ping, so he knows that somebody is going to be there. It's going to be Skiddy. A great pinch. Nath comes in with the kill onto Prano. That's some really good roam clearing there from Navi.
Yeah, good drone work as well. You know, there's many places you can have those drones inside of bar. Can be very easily missed if you're a defender. Does work for Navi, but still Navi, the main issue is getting through this wall. We've seen the nades from below from Skiddy. It did not get the mute jammer, so it's still up and it will slow down Navi in their progress. We've seen the Flores come in. I suppose this probably is their kind of substitute almost to the sledge. No way it's going to open up the hatches. is kind of working like a grenade in a way where you can move in and try and root out some of these players. That's where Flores does become very flexible, can fit in a few roles. But as long as that mute chamber is up, Virtue is as safe as anything. But Kayak is trying to get the diffuser down, and he will be successful with it, Ollie. What has happened? G2, they even have a Valkyrie, and they still don't know that the plant was going down. Citizen on the main breach will get picked out. Everyone else jumping out of windows, and Na'Vi just collapse.
Great call from Kayak there to go for the plant, really. They knew that they were never going to really get any progress further into that bathroom area. They didn't have sufficient pressure coming from inside of construction either. We had Doki playing in the construction doorway, so there was no real way of anyone just waltzing in from Na'Vi. It really was just a Hail Mary, desperate attempt at getting the plant stuck just behind the wake track. And, well, Kayak got the job done. And I think that G2 kind of panicked at that point. They must have felt very
they all
safe
jumped out of windows
where they were.
Didn't they?
There was a
Like
lot
at
of
the end.
scramble in there for kills. Citizen got caught in the middle of Jacuzzi wall, which is never a great place to be. You're rocking a hard place there. You're either going to get shot from gym window or you're going to get taken out from Jacuzzi.
And you have to say, Na'Vi played that very well. As soon as that diffuser goes down, everyone's out. Everyone scatters away because they know that G2 is going to be desperate. And then they just sit back, and then everyone just collapses on G2 as they try and go for those plays. So yeah, overall for Na'Vi, it was good decision making, but I think G2 let that one slip big time.
To the mid floor. To the bar we will go. Still shying away from that CCTV site. Going to be bringing an Echo this time in order to try and gain a little bit more info. Obviously, we know that bar is one of those sites where teams are really going to look to get a plant down here.
Lineup, Ollie. What is happening?
The lineup's terrifying.
Oh, don't tell me a double window jump in. Oh.
The confidence is there for Na'Vi, and it should be. I think the confidence should be there. If there is ever a time, now is the time. The site is incredibly light at the moment. There is only Prano playing just inside the side stairs. I think they're going to smoke it off, and Kayak's just going to go straight in. Citizen is moving through to the hatch, though. Blur with the cover there over onto Alamau. The Echo will stop the plant for now. Kayak finds himself down. Citizen picks him off. G2 now scrambling to get themselves back in, but kills are still being picked up here by Na'Vi. Nath, he's had to dip himself out. Skiddy as well, just outside of stock. It was a push and a rush, but it hasn't quite paid off. G2 have now had time to stabilize. Prano, he can look to try and reposition one of the yokai drones here to even further give them an advantage, because guess what, Demo? That diffuser is cold on the ground.
I was very worried. Very, very worried. Prano, just in the nick of time, will get on the Echo drone, will stall out that plant. And G2, of course, has done very well to gain back that control. So Na'Vi, that rush didn't work. You can see that they've kind of smoothed things out. I think as soon as I think Blur pushed in, got that kill onto the man in sight, I think then that was the call, was just cam. It's even, it's free. You still have some form of hard breach. You can still do something with the Capitao. Take it slow and see how they play, because obviously they have plenty of time, still half the round to go. It will be Skiddy droning in Blur now as he looks to enter in upstairs and try and challenge onto Citizen and Virtue. It just comes down to where are the Valkyrie cameras for Citizen? Is there one inside of construction to support him in this upstairs hold?
I really appreciate the sort of commitment there to using the time and using what Na'Vi have still got available to themselves. The rush hasn't worked, but they've not just gone, oh, we'll just swing and peek and we'll just try and get lucky. We're going to really take a step back here and still play this one properly. We've got Skiddy drone in Blur, and Blur then jumps on his drone to do the next step almost. And we can see that the G2 players, they're still going to be upstairs.
They're all very close, which
they know where the diffuser is, so they don't really have too many concerns. Nath, still trying to make something happen from this pool window, is going to be allowed to collect the diffuser. That's almost a little bit of a blunder from G2. You really want to try and keep eyes on that when you know that you've already got it downed. Now we've seen a position where Na'Vi have been able to stabilize. They've got themselves into a spot where Blur is upstairs. He's got a chance potentially to rotate and effect onto that construction hatch, and the plant is going to start to go down. Virtue, he's going to pick up one over onto Nath. Citizen, another onto Blur, and it leaves Skiddy with it all to do. 18 seconds left remaining, 1 versus 2 here. He's got the diffuser, but that doesn't really matter. He needs to try and search out for these kills. He's not aware that there's going to be a player lurking just to his left inside a strip. That player is going to be Prano, collecting that final kill. A just reward for a round spent on a yokai drone.
Yeah, obviously it was an attempted rush by Na'Vi. Just about Prano got there in time. G2 stabilized, Na'Vi stabilized. It then goes into a 3v3 with still 2 minutes to go, plenty of time. And the main issue that Na'Vi had was they didn't really attack onto the players upstairs. And you have to remember, yes, that rush, you know, they went for the rush. It didn't work. But then it just goes down to as if it was a normal bar attack.
Normal round.
It's just a normal round. And one thing you can't do is plant inside a bar if you don't have construction control. Then it comes back to the fundamentals. So what were Na'Vi thinking? All because it was a rush doesn't mean that the round's going to be any different. You're still going to be players upstairs. There's still going to be players on that hatch. You still need to take construction. That was where I think Na'Vi then were too timid. And you're not going to get away with that. You're not going to get away with that. In any concept, if you're a player upstairs, as soon as you hear that diffuser get opened, you're dropping the hatch and killing him. That is it. That's going to happen.
Blur just had too much to do upstairs, ultimately, because he could have walked on through and tried to challenge, but there was somebody, I think Citizen was in logistics.
I think you play for kills there. I think if you just go in, you're not going to try and blindly get a diffuser down if you don't have construction. You either go big or you go home. That is it.
Fortunately for G2, it didn't matter that they'd surrendered the diffuser and allowed it to get picked back up.
They still have upstairs control. The
They
whole
still
thing
had
about
plans.
bar, if you have upstairs control, you should not be losing that. That is the main principle of that defense.
G2 seeing a slight lead here. They're going to take us back downstairs. Blur was, of course, the real key, influential first pick previously. Blur got taken out by Doki, a nice C4 from upstairs back when we saw this round in round number 1. It did make getting hatches open a little bit difficult. There was a big struggle from that point onward, especially with the impact tricking from below. So I imagine Blur's going to try and keep himself just a little bit safer this time.
No roam game this time from Na'Vi though, or from G2 should I say. So Na'Vi don't really have to worry about that. There is going to be one big substitute of operators where we're seeing that Valkyrie be dropped. It's a common one that we see G2 use a lot, primarily Citizen. That's a signature of his. But no information this time on behalf of the Valkyrie cameras. I think they're going to try and get most of their information from, obviously, mirror windows. It's going to be great for locking down the main stairs. I think the other one's being placed inside of blue, so you have that control over oil pit and, of course, onto the staircase. But not having that roam game, it gives Na'Vi a lot more time to work with. This is more generic. This is where we're going to see a very slow round play out, where it's all about getting the preparation geared up and ready for that final execute. And typically for Clubhouse, we will see these 5v5s, just slaughterhouses in the final 30 seconds.
Kind of neutralizes the IQ pick as well. Nate's been rocking IQ in anticipation of those electronics. And with fewer electronics to search out, no Legion this time, it kind of makes things a little bit more redundant. We're still getting a little bit of impact trick action onto the hatch.
Love the Azami pick.
The Azamis, they're fantastic because despite the fact that Kitchen is getting ripped open by the book, there are still pockets of safety that can be made.
It's good for bomb sites which are very open, and certainly the basement fits that criteria. And whenever there is, a lot of objects that you can just whack them on, it's great. It is a really good pickup. And look, they have to use utility. They have to burn through all these concrete slabs because they know if there is one man behind this big old box, you're not dropping that hatch and getting away with it.
Citizen's got himself a disgusting angle here, just through the crack in a
You
couple
only died to
of
that
the
once,
boxes.
by the way, and I know that full strength.
He's still going to hit him with a swing. He uses the angle to gain the info, but still has to swing out from the box to pick the kill. Skitty, meanwhile, will take out Doki. So that's going to be a C4 gone if it wasn't already used. Citizen can
like a mirror
still
window, isn't it?
hit this box. There's nothing that's going to really cause him too much concern. We've got Virtue playing inside of Tunnel, so he's not got to worry about that angle. The biggest vulnerability at the moment is how much can Skitty do from inside of blue. There's a lot of pressure on him here.
Drop comes in. Kayak will successfully stay alive, and we'll try and get a diffuser down. Thunder has limited Virtue. Diffuser going down. Citizen surely can swing and find that kill. Diffuser cold on the ground. Even Alma was looking to hit it from behind. He swings into Church. Will find the remaining player, and, well, G2 hold firm. A good hold, but Na'Vi, nothing really going on there for them.
Na'Vi almost didn't know the look in that round. It looked as though they'd been gifted this top floor control, and they were like, oh, there's no resistance up here. Fantastic. Let's move. Let's advance on. Let's try and get these hatches open. Let's generate some sort of a plan. And the Azami barriers, they just caused so much drama, so much problem. Nobody even pushed in through dirt. We didn't see anybody successfully get down blue. No presence in Moto. Main stairs, kind of forgotten about. It was a bit of a desperate hatch drop.
Another good point to make about the sledge ban specifically, right? We see then obviously Na'Vi rotating onto that buck to fill that, that role, because what's the difference between buck and sledge?
A couple of nades, vertical
That's
versus soft.
The first point you made, a couple of nades. What's one thing that would have worked really well to eliminate Citizen?
Probably a couple of nades.
Yeah.
You needed something.
That is a big difference, because that's the difference between buck and sledge. Is yes, they both do the same job on a map like Clubhouse, but the utility. Not having those 2 nades, and then you're only using just the one, because Skitty is always going to be either on Iana or is going to be on the Finkit. He's going to be on one of those entry roles. Na'Vi then are going to be lacking in the nade department, where we knew Blur would always be on that sledge roll. You're always bringing 4 nades. So if you don't have those extra nades, that's where the Kiba barriers are going to be great, because then you're burning through whatever utility was still left. And you can play in those strong positions. So, yeah, you know, the sledge ban, it is very impactful on a team like Na'Vi. You wouldn't think it, but it is.
I like how basic G2 are going as well. They're not looking for anything too fancy. They're happy
This is what
to
we
just
asked.
sit and
This
wait.
is exactly what we wanted from G2. We want them just to play Siege. We're not looking for counters. We're not looking for them to try and stop things. Everything G2 is doing is just playing the meta. Playing, you know, burning for utility. Excellent work of bringing in an Azami. Good information gathering. They're doing it. Obviously, attack is going to be a different thing, which is where we still need to see G2 really bring it to the table. But at the moment, they're trying to give themselves as much of an advantage going into that half.
Coming back to Jim, this is, of course, the round that Na'Vi were successful in. They managed to get a sneaky plant down inside a Jim just by the weight rack, and it was a round that they didn't look like they had any business getting success out of, but they managed to scrape it through. G2 this time, still going for a very similar approach. We've got the mirror windows, we've got the trademark Azami now, as it is. It's just so powerful on Clubhouse with the angles that you can restrict and then create with those Kiba barriers. Skitty looks as though he's going to have a little bit of a mooch inside of construction, as the wall is going to be opened to his left. Rotero drones working ahead are going to give a little bit of information out as well. And G2 are certainly feeling the pinch this time. One thing that, despite the fact that Na'Vi got away with the round previously, is that they didn't have construction control demo, but this time there's a big focus on that construction side.
Plenty of utility being tossed in, but like we've mentioned, they don't have a lot of nades, and the first one has already been used, and it pretty much just removed a single concrete barrier. That is it. Just a single one. Nothing else went with it. And that mirror window is still intact. And as long as that mirror window is up, nobody is moving into construction. So that is the big worry right now, if you are Na'Vi, is how do you deal with this gadget? How do you get rid of these mirror windows? Because right now, they can't, maybe use a Flores drone in a company with somebody playing aggressive. Is that the idea? I'm not sure.
Nate's grabbed himself a great kill onto Citizen. Going to try and get himself up on the rappel as well. Maybe transitions to a little bit of jacuzzi pressure, because that's somewhere that, whilst it is open, Na'Vi are lacking at the moment. C4 primed and ready in Virtue's hand, as Blur is going to be threatening on these windows on the balcony. Lot to burn through here. Alamau was playing just outside, but has instead moved back inside of the bathroom. He's going to get taken out in a flurry of kills as Kayak, he nails that diffuser to the ground. Virtue, he's on the flank, moving himself through construction. There are going to be M&M players outside as well for him to deal with. This is a tricky one. 1 versus 4. Might go for a little bit of a hop out, could find himself one, and does, but is instantly traded. Nath from above with the cover.
I don't know how Skitty's being allowed to walk in through construction. I just said that should not happen. That mirror window is up. How? How is he allowed to do that? Was nobody behind the mirror window? I don't think there was. A blunder.
Certainly a blunder. Bit of a strange one.
Because the whole principle of that is Alamau has that mirror window. He can stop people flooding in through the breach. But if nobody's protecting behind him on that construction door, he's neutralized and everything just falls around him. I don't know how nobody's on that mirror window.
Still chance for Na'Vi to get away with a 3-3 split here, which would seem quite good.
It would be good for Na'Vi, it really would be.
It would certainly prove that they're not just a one-trick gym and bedroom team when they're on the attack, as it would kind of seem that way a little bit at the moment. However, last time they attacked this site, it was an all-out rush, which sort of fizzled out into a very traditional round. The operator lineup suggests to me we're not going to see the same sort of rush attempted again. Instead, it's going to be a little bit more traditional.
I think you go basic, don't you? You do go basic. I mean, G2 and their lineup, maybe I think fearing that Na'Vi might go for the same idea, mostly because I see Warden come in from Citizen. It would be great, you know, if you're going up against the Capitao bolts to neutralize that. I mean, it is still going to get value. There is, actually, there's not. There's no smokes and Thermite, which is very surprising, because generally for bar, it is quite handy to cover off either the double door or the single door inside a bar as you try and plant towards stage. So that's a bit surprising to see, but I mean, 9 flashbangs, still going to get value out of the Warden somehow.
You're going to be able to do something with 9 flashbangs, aren't you? They're going to be Rotero droning open the bottom of Garage. CCTV wall has been opened as well. Alma playing in behind the deployable shield. Might just be going for a little bit of a peek here. Getting a bit curious on the wall that has been opened. Kayak playing things quite patiently, just waiting for the drones to catch up.
I'm surprised Mute isn't being brought by G2. Mostly because we've seen a lot of gameplay from Flores right now from Na'Vi. You know, this is an operator that is being brought to kind of fill that role as a Sledge, where it is there to open up hatches, clear away utility, similar to what the nades would do for Sledge. And Mute would be great. As we know, you can get a lot of value out of that. I think Eminem earlier today, they showcased how strong Mute can be with stopping those drones.
Both nades there just being sent on basically a shadow. Alamau had already moved out of that position. No more nades left for Na'Vi in this round.
Good drop-off, though.
G2 have slowly but surely got themselves back a little bit closer toward the site. And this is great. They're burning time here, Demo.
They've burned the nades, which I think is very important, because essentially now G2 are going to be able just to sit in safe positions. You don't have to worry about nades being flung at you now. You can just sit back and just hold this. The thing about burning stage is it is quite easy to get a plant down. As long as you have construction control, somewhat of a construction control, it's very easy to plant towards stage. We mostly see rounds get decided on how the retake happens for the defense. But, I mean, if you look at G2's lineup, you know, they have an Echo. They can just outright deny the plant. You don't have to worry about the retake, but it is still going to be tricky whenever there's a minute still to go.
Kayak going to use an exothermic charge now to further break open this wall, just give himself a little bit of an easier time getting into the site. Default camera still alive in the middle. It's usually one of the last to go, given that it is in the heart of the bomb site. Prano, an ever threat on those yokai drones as well. Na'Vi biding the time here for the setup. They've still got plenty of opportunity to gather info as there's around 30 seconds.
A lot of pressure.
All 10 players alive here. Alamau might just be prepping for something here, as we do hear the Doki call come in. That is usually the cue to call. Kayak, he's going to try and get that diffuser down, but Doki, he's picked himself up to make it 3 kills, cleaning house on that top floor, and then some. Further takes Kayak out as he was trying to get that diffuser down. So Yokai Drone, there's 10 seconds left. It doesn't matter. Virtue picks up 2. Scrappy and slow from Na'Vi. And G2, look at Doki, he doesn't know his luck there. He's thinking, what has just happened? I've been gifted with 3.
I think him and Virtue have played that extremely well. Realizing that the main issue that you're going to suffer from as that plant go down is you just don't have the control on construction. And I said, a lot of pressure on Skiddy. Skiddy needs to hold his ground. As that lone man upstairs, you need to stop the defenders getting control of that hatch again. He didn't. He lost the engagement. Doki swung around that a million miles an hour and took his head clean off. And that's what it comes down to. Just a simple engagement. That's why we say there's a lot of pressure in that construction hold, because that is usually where things are won and lost. If you have that construction control as an attacker, you will get that plant down and nobody can retake. If you have that hatch control as a defender, the plant's not getting down.
G2 choosing now to take that time out. It's not a bad time to use it. I'm a big fan of the unusual timeouts. I think that, you know, any team can take a timeout after they've lost a couple of rounds, but it's a really good point in the game because there's a huge momentum shift already about to happen, given that you are swapping from attack to defense, or vice versa, in G2's case, defense to attack. 4-2 is the lead that they have generated themselves. But they still know that that isn't the whole job.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a good time to take the time out, to just recognize that, to just go, yeah, we did all right in the first half, but let's not end up like the meme.
This is the tricky part now for G2. It's the attacks. We talked about they want to do basics right. Triple hard breach. That's already a good start. Not going to suffer from any of these hatches not being opened up, any walls not being opened up. They should be able to cover literally everything. Even if there is impact tricking, which there's only going to be one set of impact tricks from Blur, they should still be able to open up dirt. All 3 hatches. Some of the upstairs wall, if they need to assist with this roam clear that they're going to have to go for, as we see Na'Vi have set up shop towards that bedroom. Quite similar to, of course, what G2 did in their defense. And also that Valkyrie being open. Give Na'Vi just that little extra bit of information. I just want to see how G2 want to approach this. Are they going to be an aggressive side? Are they going to look for the hunt? Or will they simply just try and maybe ignore the defenders and try and lure them into a trap? Who knows?
Prano is going to be able to get the wall open there into CCTV.
The aggressive stance.
Nate's mute jammer just not really doing the business there. The old upside down repel is far too good for getting around those jammers. Still, there's a player there that needs to be dealt with. Nate, he's got that feeling. He's got that feeling that he's being watched. He knows that there's somebody out there and he's waiting for Blur to hit them with the swing. Blur announces it. 2 impacts going out, 1 for the barricade, 1 just in case there was a claymore there as well. And, well, he thinks better of it.
Tense at the moment. Either side wanting to give away that first pick. There will be an engagement as Skitty and Kayak do make it back down to the bomb site. Citizen breathing down their neck. Slowly, G2 gaining ground, gaining distance in this hold from Navi. There is still 1 player upstairs. You can see Nathan. He's still kicking around. Inside a garage, as we've seen Blur here earlier, but he has since then retreated back down to blue stairs. Let's see if Nathan goes undroned. Drone work has been questionable. And, oh, Nathan wasn't going to get away with that, was droned out, but he is still alive. Doki trying to catch him as he comes back, but great cover has to be said from the anchor players, allowing Nathan to get back to site safely.
Looks as though Nate thought that they were coming through in real life then as well. He did a little bit of a look over the shoulder as we were watching the player cam. It was all getting a little bit too real for a minute.
That is so much better from G2 though. We want to see these drones, you know, we want to see them be thorough in how they examine these off-site holes. And yeah, they've done well there. They've lost nobody. Now they can start picking up the pace. You still have plenty of time in terms of Clubhouse Basement. You know, it doesn't take too long to get the hatches open, but, you know, 45 seconds, it's going to be close. The main thing, Ollie, that I need to see from G2 is how good they are at dropping blue and gaining that blue control. That is pivotal in how you attack this basement.
Certainly makes it a lot easier to get hatches open when the two impact grenades that were brought were used on a little bit of a run-out attempt.
True.
Obviously, only being 2 impacts, you're never going to be able to get all the X-Karos pellets anyway, but you could at least stem that flow for a time. That is, however, not going to be a factor, as the hatch has been opened. Citizen looking to see if he can find any angles through the floor, and Na'Vi, well, they're quite bunched up here. We've got Kayak playing pretty much directly below the hatch, and he could find one, but instead gets taken out. It's going to be Blur that's the star of the show as he picks himself up a couple of kills. 7 seconds left, and with the diffuser cold, it is not going to be straightforward here. Blur's picked himself up a quad. Thunder pinches the ace, but I'm sure he won't mind.
No, he will not mind. Blur, back of 8Ks, has played out of his skin to hold firm whenever the G2 lineup just starts bombarding into the site. Well, he stands up and says, not today, G2, not today. All of that, again, came down to that blue fight. Doki lost that engagement against Blur, and that really opened things up. Doki gets that kill amidst AKs. Everyone dropping the hatch and kitchen is not going to be killed. Just, that's the main difference. It's blue. It's all about that blue control. And Doki just didn't win it, and that's what it comes down to.
It's such a difficult job to play blue as well as an attacker.
It's just 50-50. It just, you win it,
if you don't win your gunfight, it can affect, and usually does affect,
usually the round's over at that stage, yeah.
There's so much pressure on that one single position, and it's frustrating because it's not as if you can have somebody there to help you. And it's a solo job.
And it's difficult as well whenever it's a very small space.
Yeah.
And if you're having 2 people drop that, you're going to bump into each other, and there's not enough room to maneuver. I mean, the only thing you could do is another guy coming down an oil pit, and then one guy dropping hatch or coming down blue stairs. That's the only difference, but I think just because there is a big, massive generator, the player behind generator can swing oil pit and can also swing the stairs without being seen by either other. You know, there's no refrag potential usually in blue. It's just straight gunfights. That's why you only really see just the one guy, because
exactly.
you can't risk losing 2.
Triple hard breach and secondary hard breach gadget. G2 are leaving nothing to chance here, Demo. They do not want to risk a single thing. Kayak's mirror window gets taken out pretty quickly.
I see that mirror window all the time. I'm just like, what does it really do?
Well, they open it now, and the idea is, I think, that it's more difficult to then get anything open, but
I mean, it's mostly for impact tricking, yeah, I get that, but
3 hard breaches.
G2 have so much hard breach
gadget. You're not going to wade through all that. Sure, the Selmas have gone. I think that was maybe a little bit too late for the X-Karos pellets, but once the smoke clears, I'm sure we will get a better idea of just how this is looking. G2 are making a little bit of a mess of this demo.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be, because that impact trick comes in, you have the mirror window, will open up, allow you to do that, but this... This kind of proves the point whenever we talk about that this bomb site is not good, whenever you have to put that much investment into stopping just a single wall being opened. You have to bring a Mira plus 2 operators of impact to make that kind of work, and it still doesn't slow down G2 any more than what it does. The main wall's open, that's the only thing that matters, and there's still half the round to go. This bomb site fundamentally is all about that main wall. If it gets opened up, the bomb site's cut in 2. The players inside a garage are now trapped, they are now stuck. And the other players over towards the top of the stairs, inside a cache, they cannot rotate to try and assist that man in garage. They're cut off from one another, and this is the main issue that we see with cache room is it's just so easy to separate the defenders from one another.
Equally, if you look what it's cost a great deal there. We've still got one Selma, sure, but we've noticed Kairos. Citizen, he's got himself into the site. We're not even going to need Hard Breach at this point. Kills are a-flying. C4 from Kayak will land. Prano, he's got the kit and he is still alive and kicking. Does he know that there's Thunder at the top of those main stairs, though? 2 Toxic Babe canisters still left in hand. Blur, not on a great deal of HP as he's going to try and join in on the fight. Virtue, he needs to time this well. Blur has managed to escape, drops himself down and will look to try and likely come up those cache stairs. Doki, he can command from inside of that garage. He doesn't need to commit or move all too much. Thunder eventually will be down. Virtue gets caught in the back by Kai, but Prano's there for the refrag. It's scrappy, but I like it. Blur, he's the last remaining player alive. He's no impacts from below, but has he got any information? He's got a yellow ping, but it is going to be, sadly for him, in the wrong spot. You can pre-fire it all you like, but unfortunately, the plant isn't going down there, my friend. Prano, Doki, they now have to try and hold on. Blur, not got a great deal of health. It's going to be difficult for him fighting his way up cache stairs. There's no real point trying to be quiet and sneaky about this because, let's be honest, everybody knows exactly where you are. He's just going to have to try and take these as gunfights. Uses a Kiba barrier to give himself a little bit of surety on the door, but it's not the door you want to worry about. It's the wall.
Weird round from G2. It started off with, of course, that initial burn through all of that hard destruction, but eventually that wall will be open. That's inevitable. It's always going to happen. And I thought G2 then were just going to start rotating around, being able to maneuver into garage. You know, kind of default or standard stuff is what we like to see. You know, we've seen Virtue down below, using the buck, creating a bit of chaos. And then all of a sudden, I think Citizen, he managed to get the kill into the man in Catwalk. And I think that was him taking his own initiative and said, he's killed Catwalk, and they're straight in.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be just an easy plan. But it didn't turn out like that. You know, we've seen C4s come in, we've seen Toxic Babes, it slowed down everything. And then it was a bit of a weird moment there for G2 where Prano was like a deer in the headlights. He was deer in the headlights. Yeah. He was, what do I do? Where do I go? What's happening? Doki was very, you know, away from, I think Doki was coming in for a garage, wasn't he? Virtue was still below. It didn't look too good for G2 at a moment, but then Virtue, I think, played a big part. He was able to hit them in an area which Navi were not expecting whatsoever.
And to be honest, for as out of position as Prano looked, he actually played it perfectly.
He just needed to wait for his teammates. That's all he could do.
And to be honest, that's probably the most difficult thing he could have done in that position. It would have been really easy to challenge the guy on the top of cache, or really easy to try and dip back out of the breach. The hardest thing to do there is to sit and do nothing and recognize I can't hop on my drone, I can't do it, I've just got to stay quiet and stay here and wait for the call. And that's exactly what he did.
It was just a lack of information on Navi's side. They just didn't know where the players of G2 was because it was a little bit sporadic from G2. It was a very quick, almost rush-like in terms of that bomb site.
Talk about rushes. Almal's on the Blitz.
There's no rush. I think it might be just for the roamers, perhaps. I mean, you have to remember, Blitz is still... I mean, he's designed to hunt roamers. He's not designed to be a rushing operator.
Alamal or Blitz?
Well, I mean, we have a long history of Alamau.
We do.
Of course, we managed to see him over in his home region, whenever he's still in Team 1. And he was known for playing these out-of-sort picks. You know, he's very flexible in that terms. Probably a big reason why I think, you know, at the time for G2, picking up Alamau as an ultimate flex player who can do anything on any operator, it made a lot of sense.
Skinny might be about to see a little bit of pressure at the top of those cache stairs, but instead it's going to be Nate that's credited with the first kill. Skinny does see the pressure, and he takes Doki out. Alamal not really having much to say about that one. Tried to approach with Blitz, but Skinny has said, nope, I am going nowhere near you. I've got my kill, and I am going to dip on out of here. Diffuser cold outside on the balcony. Skinny can make a full rotation back in towards site. It's a very successful roam there from Navi.
Great play from Skinny. Just gets that one kill and he's gone. Just immediately not wanting to hang around. You hear that blitz. The fact he's been able to get away is a bit surprising. You know, realistically, there should be somebody ready for that. On these gym and bedroom extensions, there's always going to be a player towards red stairs, typically with that shield. if he tries to run away, there should be somebody waiting for him. You know, essentially that player is there to die. That's supposed to be Skitty's role, is just to play there, see what he can do, and eventually peter off into the sunset. But he's been able to keep himself alive, so he's done fantastically well, can come back to site, and just now Navi can almost just win on trading kills back and forth.
Big focus on the construction area now. We've got Alamau just inside of logistics, Virtue on the hatch. Navi, they don't need to move, and they are not being given a reason to. So they're playing the right game at the moment by just biding their time and letting that clock tick down in their favor. We did see Citizen go for a little bit of a rotation out of construction. Now's the time when Virtue thinks is the time to strike. Alamau gets cut down. Virtue grabs one back, but will two be finished off? Skitty, what a round he's having. He's here, there, and everywhere. Citizen hitting us with a little bit of a spin of frustration, I'm sure, as this 1 versus 3 is not going to be easy. 15 seconds left, and Navi know exactly where he's going to be coming from at this point. Kayak inside of logistics. Skitty top of main stairs. Bit of an engagement will ensue, and the Alder will win out on that one. Kayak picking up that final frag. Navi keeping themselves in this one.
Yeah, a good round from Navi. Good early gunfights. You know, I mentioned Skitty. Obviously, Nathan being able to catch out the player on 90. My mind's just spun about 200 times. Have we seen that? He's not lying.
We caught it live.
We've seen it. It's true.
I thought it was a bit of like just a look down to the floor, spin the mouse, like how he did it himself.
I mean,
you know?
everyone's had it where there's like a hair and it just sends the sensor ballistic.
I have a clean mouse, man. That's one thing I'm proud of.
I don't want to show you mine.
Downstairs we go, Church and Arsenal. Navi, only one round here from leveling things up, and the way that this round went previously is anything to judge by.
An even game at the moment as well in terms of kills. Nobody really standing out. Everyone's saying something, which is good to see.
It is. No one hyper carrying. Everybody really pulling the weight, and G2 are playing with a level of togetherness. That much is certainly clear. It isn't looking entirely solo and entirely separate. There are little elements here that they are looking to play together as a team.
I mean, is anyone else happy that you've got somebody who's not here to kill G2? You know, it feels as if that me and you, Ollie, we're here just to balance things out a bit.
I think we're just the optimists.
Exactly. You have to. You can't just sit there like someone else. Well, he stands whenever he does it. But you know what I mean? You have to, at some point, you just cannot be, you can't be that negative, can you?
I think I like to see the positives.
You have to look at the positives. Come on, it's a video game. Come on now.
They're only one round away from a match point as well, so there's always that threat, really, for Navi, and they're certainly going to feel that. Alamau, look at him go here. He's been able to crouch walk his way in on the Nook, takes down the mighty Yak, and that is going to be a brilliant opener.
It's a C4 as well, which we know are always going to come in handy to pick them off early on. So that's a nice little pocket play from Alamau. Just goes in, wins as one. Nobody there to refrag, as Navi in this roam have been very spread out. I mean, even if you look at the other two remaining players, you know, Skitty and Nafe are very far apart from each other.
It's
even
a nightmare
Blur,
now.
They're all over the place, and Blur goes down. Nobody's there to refrag, so Navi not there right now together, and G2 just picking them off one by one.
Something that's brilliant about that kill that Alamau's got is it just causes disarray between the defenders because they now don't know where he is. Not only have they lost the first blood, but they now don't know where Alamau's gone.
He could go into
Could have gone anywhere. So you could see that Nath was trying to sneak his way back down into the site. Blur probably trying to do similar.
I mean, Skitty did that very early on.
But the rest of G2, they can just sit and drone around him. If Alamau goes, I'm comfortable here, I can stay
He's in the middle
for a while.
of the map, he can go anywhere.
I can do whatever I want to do, just drone around me and make something happen, and that's exactly what G2 are doing here. Kills coming in left and right. Prano on for a 2K. Skitty, main stairs, last remaining player, 1 minute 15 left. G2, flawless round.
Didn't even hit
Look
the
at
bomb
what
site.
that means to Doki. Look at him go.
Didn't even hit the bomb site.
Brano's hyped as well. This is the G2 that we wanted to see tonight.
This is it. We just want to see them play their Siege. And that, what they're doing is not complicated. Everything they're doing is by the book, very basic. Is this a case of Navi have seen what G2 have done in the past, and they think that they can get away with that? G2 today have come in. They've taken it slow. They're using the drone work very well. They're not rushing things. It's working.
It's working really well for them. There's only so long that you can So there's only so many times you can look at a team like G2 with the talent and the players that they've got and expect a less than average performance from them. It isn't going to be every week. They've just got things that they need to work out, and it's entirely natural and normal. Now they're going to choose now to take that tactical time out. It's as good a time as any.
It is. Navi still have played some good Siege today as well.
Yeah.
They've been able to see gaps in G2, especially if you look at their attack, and been able to execute those. And of course, in the defense, there was a couple of rounds there which I think they did get caught lacking, just down to no information. Obviously, that round was they were just so far apart from each other. That really let them down. But still, a chance, only 2 rounds is what they need to get into overtime. And certainly Navi can do it. Let's see if they go for another roam game though, Ollie. That's the question, or will they play a little more reserved? We've seen G2 in their defenses. 1 round they went for the roam. The second time around, more relaxed, more playing in the bomb site.
They've got a great chance here of Navi to try and get this up to a 5-6, because we look at we look at Basement, Church and Arsenal. It's been a great side for the defenders tonight. The lineup that they're bringing as well speaks to a little bit more defender. It speaks to a little bit more sort of bunker down and let's really try and get this job done. They're bringing Nath on the mute. That's something we commented on a little bit earlier on. There was a bit of a reluctance to bring mute all the time. It's going to play in really nicely with the lineup that G2 are, of course, bringing. You want to restrict that drone information as much as possible. Nobody 6-picking onto the Flores instead. We get a 6-pick onto the Ying. Is this a dangerous time where G2 are just feeling themselves a little bit too much? Alamar's now picking onto the Ying. Like, I really hope that this doesn't just go down in a sea of Candelas. I like to see G2 take the time with this like they have been doing all night.
I mean, certainly it makes sense in terms of the site they're attacking. Ying can cause a lot of issues. And what was the one thing that they struggled on whenever they were attacking into that basement? Was the player behind AKs?
Yeah. Well, Blur picked up 4 kills.
Bring in the Ying. Disrupt that man. Don't allow him to play in that position. Of course, when those Candelas go off, what's that also going to do? Assist Doki, isn't it? With the blue drop. So fundamentally, it makes a lot of sense. It's going to disrupt Blur specifically, who caused them so many headaches.
Yeah, certainly no need for 3 hard breaches in the second.
Look where he is right now. Look, he's getting ready for it. He's geared up.
They're bringing much more burn this time. They're going to try and guarantee those Candelas for Alamar that they can actually see through to their mark.
Such a good concrete barrier, isn't it, just to stop that blue from happening?
He's making himself a fortress, isn't he? And why not? It's where he picked up 4 kills from last time.
It is indeed. So G2 have been able to sweep through. So Navi have went a little bit more reserved in the bomb site. G2 now have a bit more time to play with. Can easily move in, get everything set up. Plenty of hard breach, as we know, being brought. Should be no issues for them. Of course, Citizen has to worry about any impact tricking that may come in, which certainly seems to be the case. Ollie, we're seeing 4 impact grenades. There's the first one out. But again, Citizen can just slowly take his time and eventually burn them out.
He's got the time, and he's certainly got the amount of Excaros pellets.
Which Kayak? He's not home.
He hasn't been allowed to let a couple detonate there, so he's not going to need too many more for that hatch to start opening up. Feels confident that the job has now been done as Virtue continues to rip open that floor. We can hear these Kiva barriers still continuing to go off as drones start to get taken out in the site as G2 look to gather a bit of info.
All of this now relies on how Alamau uses this Ying. You're bringing in this operator with a hefty amount of utility, but you need to make sure that it works. Navi playing very close inside of Army. You've got 1 guy dirt, 1 guy behind the main third box, and then the other one at AKs. You have this triangle of death where all of them can cover each other's deaths very, very easily. So all of it comes down to Alamau and how well these Candelas can be executed.
Thunder could have a big part to play inside a dirt tunnel as well, as there's no one really worried about that location at the moment. Doki with a huge engagement to win here inside of Blue as the Candelas do start to come through. Blur, however, picks up onto Prado, second onto Virtue, keeping his team in this one for anything he can. Skitty and Doki are going to trade out 1 for 1. Citizen finally manages to shut Blur down. Alamau as well. Skitty, he's been caught out in the cold. Then he's inside of Blue. He's locked himself into the 1 versus 1. The plant will go down. Citizen's got to come off this and pick up the kill now. Skitty, he knows where it's gone down. He has to use his time wisely. It's a tense 1 versus 1 with the diffuser already down. Takes out the drone, takes out the info. Citizen lands his shots with the bear in 9. Look at these boys. This is going to be their first win here inside of Stage 2, and I'm sure it means a heck of a lot to them. Congratulations, G2.
Finally, G2 on the board with a win, but I was not confident, Ollie, in that final round. We knew they were going to use the Candelas, but as soon as the first one went in, Ollie, I just seen it being eaten up by the worm. I just like, oh, here we go. Blur starts adding on kills. And what a fiasco. Did you see the fiasco that was happening between Blur and Alamau? He had the Deagle out. Citizen drops and ships them back.
Yeah.
And then they both win their individual gunfights, and it comes down to the 1v1. And of course it's Citizen. Who else would it be to give them their first win?
It was great because it was Skiddy versus Citizen in that final moment. Skiddy's been a fantastic performer here for Na'Vi since getting picked up by M&M Academy. And it's stuff that dreams are made of. You know, you're in that sort of a clutch. Everything's on the line there. Citizen held his nerve and managed to get the job done. I'm sure that G2 are going to be very pleased with that performance.
Yeah, so Na'Vi, a loss for them though, but I still think Na'Vi can certainly walk away, you know, with a good performance still.
Yeah.
I think there was rounds that they could have had. I think the one that really sticks out for me was their cash hold. I think whenever they're in that element where they did stop that initial plant going down, we've seen Prano kind of deer in the headlights. Just a little bit of information, just shut down Virtue coming in from behind. You know, you would expect that. I think they had a mirror window looking at him as well. Yeah. You know, moments like that could have changed the dynamic for Na'Vi.
Well, there are two things that I am now looking forward to. Number one is hearing Fabian on the desk, and number two is the G2 interview. Unfortunately, they are both going to be coming up. We're going to send this over to our analyst desk to break that one down.